Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and welcome to this week's Line of Sight, the Exclusively Bacon Weekly News Roundup. Well, there's been a lot going on in the world of Exclusively Bacon this week, so I just wanted to take a moment to remind everyone that the Exclusively Bacon biannual funding drive is on in full force. For those of you that are not entirely familiar, the Exclusively Bacon website was founded and created specifically to be an ad-free video gaming news website that is entirely apolitical in nature and 100% funded by you, the fans. Right now, there are 20 days left on the Indiegogo campaign, 21 at the time I recorded this video, and we still have a long way to go. So if you enjoy the website, if you enjoy these videos, consider taking a look at the Indiegogo campaign. If you decide to support us through there, you get an Exclusively Games t-shirt and you help support all of the fantastic content that has come out of the website. And who knows, maybe with the next one we can talk them into doing an Exclusively Bacon design. Just thought I'd throw that out there, just in case. In the meantime, let's run through what we're all really here for. I mean, aside from bacon. Now, on the list for this week, we have Google Stadia Reddit AMA and the anti-consumer nature of Stadia. Wube Software takes up the gauntlet G2A throwdown recently, and little old me is actually a news story this week as I worked through and resolved several issues on the Epic Games Store with Tim Sweeney. And now that we're all queued up, let's get started. If 2017 was the year of the pre-order and 2018 and 2019 were the year of the loot box, then 2020 and 2021 will definitely be the years of cloud gaming. The cloud gaming, for those of you that are not aware, is a concept that has been worked on for the past several years, with Microsoft Azure and Nvidia's Tesla being at the forefront of the earliest iterations of virtual GPU instancing for corporate applications within a Windows virtual desktop environment. It has come as no surprise whatsoever for those of us in the corporate IT world that gaming would soon follow suit. The primary drivers for cloud gaming is the simple fact that ultimately it will be less expensive for the gamers, who would no longer be required to upgrade their hardware every 3 to 5 years, and comparatively, the cost for maintaining a cloud gaming subscription would end up being cheaper than maintaining a self-contained gaming computer for the consumer. It is also a major driving factor for corporations like Google, Sony, and Microsoft to promote cloud gaming, as it is a massive money-maker potential for them as well. As a result of that, corporations will do whatever they can to lock people into their ecosystems with a console gaming manufacturer's mentality, and Google is no different, as it has been determined that any games a player will be able to access on Stadia must be obtained through Stadia. This means that Stadia is a cloud subscription version of a console, where Stadia acts as a console, streaming service, and games distributor all at the same time. Recently, Andrei Dornichev, the director of product for Google Stadia, held a Reddit AMA that, while it was contained of mostly softball questions on the part of industry reporters, a couple of very noteworthy questions did see some answers, or lack thereof, in which Google's Stadia took a turn for the anti-consumer. Now, in that AMA, the Reddit user Initial Lingonberry asked, if the Stadia service is discontinued, do we know what, if anything, will happen with game purchases? Alternately, are there any minimum end-of-life guarantees, etc.? And Dornichev answered that question without actually answering the question, making a false equivalency with music, CDs, and movies, reaffirming that everyone would love the cloud and stating that the cloud was amazing, heavily implying that the concepts being defended by the questioner were heavily outdated and not in keeping with a modern concept. Dornichev finally did state that the game's metadata and cloud saves could be downloaded by the user, but refused to answer the question being asked, which equated to, if Stadia were to fail or otherwise be forced to shutter their doors, does Google have a plan in place that would allow gamers to retain their games that were purchased through the Stadia service? And in this, the silence from Google is deafening in its implications. Our next story involves a continuation of the recent G2A situation and Factorio's developer Wube Software picking up the gauntlet that G2A threw down at the feet of gaming developers. Over the past several weeks, G2A has been at the heart of a reignited controversy surrounding the gray market Steam key marketplace and the longtime feud between them and indie developers. This controversy is, as I said, a continuation of an ongoing history of G2A that spans just shy of a decade since its founding in 2010, and an entire 20 to 30-minute video could be dedicated towards merely outlining all of the anti-developer and anti-consumer actions taken by G2A during that 9-year period of time, including but not limited to the now infamous G2A Shield, and at the time paid service offered by G2A that was little more than a mob-style protection racket that was virtually impossible to cancel once a person had it on their account. The recent controversy was kicked off by Mike Rose over his game Descenders, in which he discovered that G2A had taken out focused, non-skippable ads on Google in order to be at the top of search rankings for that game. In that Twitter thread, Mike Rose reiterated the same sentiment expressed by numerous other indie developers and publishers in the past, in which he said, "Please, if you're going to buy a game from G2A, just pirate it instead. Genuinely. Devs don't see a penny either way, so we'd much rather G2A didn't see money either." In response to all of the negative press, G2A released a lengthy statement on their platform in which they wrote, "Let's lay all the cards on the table. We will pay developers 10 times the money they lost on chargebacks after their illegally obtained keys were sold on G2A. The idea is simple. Developers just need to prove such a thing actually happened on their stores. To assure honesty and transparency, we will ask a reputable and independent auditing company to make an unbiased examination of both sides, the developer's store and G2A marketplace. The cost of the first 3 audits is on us. Every next one will be split 50-50. The auditing company will check if any game keys sold on G2A were obtained using stolen credit cards on a developer's store compliant with card scheme rules from Visa and MasterCard payment provider rules. If so, G2A guarantees it'll pay all the money the developer lost on chargebacks multiplied by 10. We want this process to be transparent, so we will publicly report every step of the procedure, meaning you will get information such as who came forward and what the verdict was, all of which will be published for everyone to see." And in response to this, Wube Software noted that they had discovered a similar situation that Mike Rose had found in their game Factorio in terms of the advertisements, and noted the following. "We had a ton of chargeback and fraud issues in 2016 just after our Steam launch, with over 300 Steam keys of the game being purchased with stolen credit cards. With an average chargeback fee of about $20, we estimate the total amount of fees we paid because of chargebacks is about $6,600. We will be doing a deeper evaluation of our historic accounting records to get a more exact figure, but it doesn't matter so much now." So I emailed G2A about the article and their vow last week, and they are not exactly prompt in terms of dealing with the request. I have a list of all the Steam keys I had to revoke because they were purchased fraudulently, and G2A offered to check the keys. Currently, this is where the story ends. They haven't replied to my last email 2 days ago, sending them the keys and asking how many of them were sold on the website. I myself emailed Wube Software through their press email in order to attempt to find out if G2A had even responded to them over this, but nearly a week has gone by with no response back from either Wube Software or G2A. And our final story of the week involves a situation that both I myself am involved in and traditional games media is flat out ignoring, and it's actually about something potentially positive when it comes to the Epic Games Store. And as I have released 3 videos over this topic already on my own channel, I will attempt to boil things down to their absolute basic. Originally, I was led to several bits of information surrounding people's games going missing from their Epic Store accounts and people's Fortnite accounts being stolen from them. On my YouTube channel, I posted a video outlining these issues and lambasting the Epic Games Store over them, as I normally do. I then watched as the like-to-dislike ratio grew to over 400-1, and I decided to troll Epic Games and Tim Sweeney a little bit over on Twitter. Tim Sweeney himself responded, asking anyone who was experiencing these issues to either post their support ticket number in that thread or DM him personally. I took advantage of that opening and DM'd Tim Sweeney what I had found and what I'd continued to find. In a second video, I outlined how I had discovered that people's payment histories on the website were incomplete, showing only the last 90 days as opposed to the complete history, and that those people that had obtained free games on the Epic Games Store were not receiving email confirmations like they did with paid games. I then requested anyone that noticed any of the issues discussed email me directly at a special email I had set up, and I would make certain that Tim Sweeney received that information. As it had turned out, as was confirmed by Tim Sweeney through Twitter DMs, that while the databases did retain full purchase history for all accounts, the Epic Games Store website was only displaying the most recent 90 days. Epic Games corrected the issue in a matter of hours so that people's full payment history would then be visible. When asked, Tim Sweeney had stated in regards to emailed receipts that they didn't want to spam people when it came to the free games, to which I replied with the following. I understand the desire to avoid the concept of spamming, but I can say from the other side of the fence, particularly given how Epic is perceived by those that aren't ardent fans, confirmation emails will provide some additional peace of mind, especially given light of these recent concerns. From a customer standpoint, receiving a confirmation email of purchase confirmation is just a thing that happens. It also gives the customer the digital equivalent of something to hold on to. The Epic Games Store is bare bones at best right now. Any action that can be taken to provide people peace of mind can go a long way. And on that note, while I have you available, I know we will never see eye to eye on paid distribution exclusivity, but if you really want to win hearts and minds and lead people towards your stated goals, more pro-consumer functionality of the Epic Games Store should be focused on in a more public manner as opposed to focusing strictly on catering to developers. Just my 2 cents as an advocate for the consumer. And as a result of that recommendation, Tim Sweeney agreed, and the next day, email receipt notifications for all games, including free ones, were enabled. In addition, I had also discovered and documented how games would disappear from people's accounts. It involved a combination of a fat-fingered account creation, where when someone created an account, they accidentally hit the wrong key on the keyboard or hit 2 keys at once without noticing, and then later using the login with your Google account button, which, if one does not pay close attention, would not realize was actually creating a second account. In my proofing this, I had a game installed on my primary account. I logged in with the second deliberately created account in order to mimic the fat-fingered first account versus actual real account. The installed game showed up under the second account until it was uninstalled. It then vanished from the library as it was not owned by that account. I again outlined this to Tim Sweeney via Twitter DMs, and he assured me that on Monday, which would be today, the team was going to be looking into getting mandatory email verification set up, which would have eliminated this issue to begin with. And I realize it is a bit odd me reporting on myself, but this is a situation that is not being picked up by other media sources, and it is important information to get out there, as while these are very minor in the grand scheme of things when it comes to the Epic Games Store, it was heartening to see 3 very pertinent issues get resolved in short order merely because the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation took the time to listen to a tiny little YouTuber with less than 100,000 subscribers. But that's all the time we have for in this week's Line of Sight. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to hear more of my voice or what I think on all things gaming, then check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/SidAlpha. Link is in the description below. Until next week, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.